the topsoil has been stripped off by wind erosion as far as you can see. The highlands were to a large extent vegetated at the time of settlement. Then when the climate got colder, around about 1500, a very extensive erosion, wind erosion and water erosion started on the highlands. And that eroding material to some extent went into the river. The rivers brought them down to the ocean, and then the ocean current brought it towards west, hit the peninsula there where the town is now. My name is Sveinn Runolfsson. I was the director of the Soil Conservation Service of Iceland for 44 years. So when the work started here really in 1935, we know that this entire area was absolutely vast sand desert.
In 2010 there was a big eruption. The eruption under the glacier melted the ice, which caused a big flooding. Flooding flowed over our land. The years before they had grazed the birch forest, the forest remains. No trees, nothing to protect the soil, so the soil just eroded away. They grazed eroded land so heavily until it collapsed. The landowners in this area decided to protect. They put up a fence so that the sheep would not get there. Started to build up the soil again by putting fertilizer and Icelandic species. It's a hard work. We do it with tractors because the land is accessible from the road.
We can work in grounds which are almost useless for hand planters. We can do tight packed soil and we can do rough terrain. But there are places that we can't work. So obviously we need hand planters and we need machines.
Up here in Iceland, what you lose in one event will take hundreds of years to bring back. If you dig into the soil, you can see this is not deep, fertile soil. After such a damage, total loss of soil and vegetation, there are no quick fixes. There is nothing that we can just change in 1 year or a few years. It takes a long, long time. It is an investment, but it's an investment for the future.
The little soil that was here, in between the lava, was extremely poor in nitrogen and poor in all nutrients. Therefore, the lupin, being a legume, is such a blessing. The lupin is about almost the only legume that survives in Iceland. Without the lupin, we would have to have spent enormous amount of fertilizer to stabilize the sand.
And fertilizer is in a meager ground like this is an absolute necessity. I recognize the lupin as a hugely successful plant in areas where needed, and it has been used all over Iceland for that purpose. However, it has been used in areas where it's got no business being. It is creeping into land which doesn't need it, and this is happening all over Iceland. Do we allow it to go over natural vegetation, cover everything in sight, or do we try to do something? The only weapon I have is to cut particularly the flowers in the springtime. In the springtime I come here and spread grass seed and fertilizer and plant trees, and trees planted in the lupins will gradually win, and that surely is our aim. It's on a very small scale, but I will keep trying.
If we don't start growing those areas and getting vegetation going, we will just keep on having big winds that are blowing all these particles down to the towns and into these areas, making this kind of a Sahara, what do you call it, like a sandy storms. And this is just a negative effect for living in Iceland. It is a beneficial thing to try to get these ungrown or unbuilt areas to a greener state, if we could call it that. It will be much nicer for living.
Eruption and erosion in Iceland is not the fault of volcanoes or sheep alone.
You must realize that there is no quick fix in this. They need to walk with nature.
We really got the restoration work going on a big scale after 1980. It wasn't until we brought in the lyme grass that this seawall started to form. This huge monument, if you like, was built up. If we hadn't done this enormous effort, there would definitely be nobody living there at all. Nobody. As the restoration work developed and it was more feasible to come and live there and build fishing factories and processing stations. The town gradually increased in size because just outside the coast here are extremely good fish.
Is it looking good? Is it cold enough? Mainly we are working out of cod. Our product is going all over Europe. Half of our production is going to the US. With flight, 50%, with boats, 50%.
We fish over 1,000 tons every year. The 4 guys on this boat, I'm the captain. During the prime season of fishing, the most we have caught is around 70, 80 tubs like this. It was around 23 tons.
This town owes its entire existence to the Soil Conservation Service and the work with the lyme grass.
Áður gekk sandur hér af alltaf húsum hér. Nú það liðin tíð og við sjáum ekkert sandfok hérna lengur. Hefur tekist í samvinnu við Landgræðslu ríkisins sem við höfum átt mjög gott samstarf við.
Og hér væri ekki íbúðarhús eða íbúðabygging eða starfsemi ef við höfum ekki náð að binda sandinn. Því að fólk gat ekki búið hér við það að þurfa að moka út úr íbýli sínum eða úr garðinum eða reyna að komast hingað niður til stundar ófært því að vegurum var bara sandskaflar. Þannig að enn og aftur við erum bara að bjarga byggðinni með góðri landgræðslu.
There would absolutely be no fishing or any kind of industry or nobody living there today. I'm absolutely certain about that.
Allir með